Hi, I'm Alan Ross. I'm here at the IEEE PES T&D, that's a lot of acronyms, conference. This is the 2020 version that is actually being held in 2022. These interviews that we're conducting is with thought leaders on the future of the power industry. So enjoy. Our next guest is John Brett. He is the president and CEO of Delta X Research. So John, thank you, welcome.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, so we ask everybody to put on your Swami's hat. What are the problems, opportunity, challenges? What's going on in the industry from an expert that you see? It doesn't just have to relate to Delta X Research. It can be anything that you see, but I'd like to bring it back to that because you're going to have to talk about how you're solving that problem.
Absolutely. And everyone knows, basically, chaos is upon the industry.
Yes, thank you. Right? You're the first that has put it in those words, but you're exactly right. And it's good chaos.
It is. It's constructive. We've had to make change. We got EVs. We have climate change to worry about. We have supply chain issues. All sorts of things are happening. And we're adopting AI and new technology and things like that. The one thing that's never going to change is the mission of utilities. They're mandated to keep the lights on and keep the world moving forward, and they got to stay laser focused on that. And while all this chaos is happening around them, right?
Right.
So, our job, we see our job I'm an ex-Navy guy, and I go by the mantra, keep it simple, sailor. How do you make the complex simple? Because all this stuff is going on, all this information is going on. I'm also a controls guy. And people talk about IoT, smart grid, all AI. This is a big controls and automation problem. It just happens to be a lot more of it. And the challenge is, how do you organize it and simplify it? So particularly the fellows on the front lines can make decisions quickly to keep the lights on. And there's going to have to be a whole supporting entourage there, both in the utilities and in the vendor community to make that happen.
Do you think a lot more of that change, that chaos, is on the distribution side? Because the generation transmission side, yes, it is. And when I say distribution, I'm including DER. So distributed generation is part of that whole grid edge thing. But is that where most of the action, most of the change, and most of the challenges are coming?
So it appears that way, at least on the surface.
Yeah.
Because you got the microgrids, the DERs, the EVs are all consumer, related. But then they're going to have to figure out how to organize, energy moving back and forth between districts in different ways across the transmission lines, because there's going to be bottlenecks along the way that they didn't have before because they're moving power in a different direction.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are some other complexities at sort of the macro control level.
Right.
But most of the chaos that we see day to day does tend to be at the distribution level.
Yeah. At the macro control level. I like that. You are a controls guy, I can tell, right? One of the other problems, so we've moved data centers back on shore from where they've been because of cybersecurity and some things there, and power availability, because they can't take a power outage and last very long. Generators are not as reliable to run a data center as people think.
Right.
You've got Bitcoin mining from China. Doesn't happen anymore. Chinese said, no, now we're running Bitcoin here. Uses tremendous amount more power. And then EV adoption is expected to be somewhere around 30% by 2035. It just takes the demand curve for power way up, okay? Yes. That's going to bring, that's part of the chaos that we're talking about. Delta X Research plays in all of those areas. You're in all of those areas. As you look at all of those challenges, what do you think as a utility, laser focused on keeping the lights on, how am I going to focus on something first? I got to get more generation. I got to get transmission that's got power coming in and out. Yes. I got to have distribution that's in chaos. What should I focus on first?
I don't think there's a single answer to that. I think there's the people who have to keep the lights on today, and I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this, is really you're going to have multiple layers of people in the organization. You know, the CEO has to make sure those layers are in place. And I'll give you an example. You know, Commonwealth Edison from Chicago did a great presentation yesterday on data quality. And you know, the presentation was all about, oh my gosh, we're trying to make GIS and data more available to the people in the field so they can make better decisions faster and keep the lights on longer.
Right.
Right? But our data quality is not very good.
Right.
So somebody has to step and say, hey, let's acknowledge that. That's the first thing that people have a hard time sometimes doing, is acknowledge that, and then let's do something about it. Well, the doing something, that's not trivial. And some people see it as very tedious work. But the value you get out of that is tremendous when you actually get it done, because now you've got good information in the field, and you also have to put the processes in, behind it to make sure that information stays good. Yeah. And so I see a lot more of that happening in terms of people recognizing AI is a great example. You have to train your machine learning tools. Right. And it takes a tremendous amount of effort to get there. People are starting to learn now. When AI started coming forward, machine learning came forward as a anticipated technology about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And now they're learning, well, this is hard. Right? You're saying, wow, let's adopt this.
Can't do AI and ML without good data quality.
Without good data quality, right? This is hard. And so, we now are rolling up our sleeves and good on those progressive companies who the CEOs are saying, hey, we're going to dedicate resources to get this done because it's going to make a difference for the future.
Is that the layers you're talking about, from the C-level down to the operator?
Absolutely.
You just got to get all of those levels.
The C-level, the C-suite has to champion this, and they recognize what the front lines have to do, and they have to make sure that the layers are in the middle, driving to get the data quality, all the what seems like mundane stuff, but requires actually senior support and senior action to make sure it happens, and happens well.
As a reliability guy, I'm passionate about reliability. So I'm on the ISO 55000 path. I mean, it's nowhere near adoption. But one of the principles within ISO 55000 is line of sight. The CEO and the 5 layers you're talking about, they have to see the same thing, but they have to see it in a form that works for them. Because you don't want to present the CEO a lot of data and technical and stuff. And this guy getting a summary thing is not going to work. So every level along the way has to have line of sight of the asset or the assets as they're working. And that is changing a lot of how people look at asset management. It's probably another big change that's going on behind the scenes. And it is, I think it was Pacific Gas and Electric that was one of the first companies to try to implement ISO 55000. They did it on their gas side first, and they found a whole bunch of assets. I was at one of the conferences, a whole bunch of assets they didn't even know existed, operating assets in a gas pipeline.
Right, data quality. It was all missing from your books.
That's the ultimate data quality problem is, what is that asset doing? It's it's pumping gas into this community. It's funny. But they didn't even try it at the time. They just said, well, the complexity of implementing an ISO program like that. But boy, did they ever learn a lot in the process there. And that's, there's so many of these things that the utilities are having to deal with right now. When they also have labor shortages, because they've lost more gray beards and gray hairs than ever before during COVID, that didn't come back. They just said, I'm done with it. Now, some of them come back as consultants and things like that. But for the most part, they've lost a lot of their legacy knowledge. And you get these young people coming in, new technology changes, all the chaos we're talking about without the legacy knowledge. So all of that's the problem. Now, Delta X research is playing part of the solution. What are some of the things that you guys are working on to be able to help with data quality, to be able to bring information to the marketplace? Talk to me about, be specific. Talk to me about how you're here to help.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were just alluding to one of the three legs of our mantra: scientific, easy, independent. Is making it easy. You have that workforce, a lot of, the knowledge about the transformer fleet. So, as you know, we help them diagnose and understand and safeguard the transformers, and a lot of that knowledge is tribal knowledge. And they need to capture that experience in a tool and carry it forward and educate the people coming up behind them. And so we make sure that things are easy to use, making the complex simple, getting back to that concept. Okay. Now we work down at the lower level, so we're not dealing at the CEO level per se. We're helping the people on the front lines and the mid lines in terms of asset management understand what's going on with their fleet, and the whole point is make sure it's objective, science-based, but easy to understand. That's the hard part. And frankly, we have data quality issues. We see our customers have data quality. We are constantly reinforcing that and working with them to try and get it cleaned up. And cleaned up is make sure it's correct, accurate, complete, and kept up. And if we can do that, we can create magic for our customers.
Create magic. I like that, John. That's a great thing. We create magic.
Wow.
Now, in Delta X research, I don't see magic anywhere in there, but that's a great way to. No, I hear what you're saying.
Our Marcom director will probably shoot me for saying that because we really believe in science more than in art.
Right.
But the outcome of that now, having done that scientific work is, and it's a combination of first principle science, using some machine learning to hone what we're doing, and then putting the information in there that we're able to demonstrate is working well for our customers.
Excellent. IEEE, you've been a part of IEEE for a long time. I asked you that earlier, and you had to go look at your card, and you said how many years?
40.
40 years, a member of IEEE.
Since I was in college.
And you've got staff and engineers, you've got technical people that work on. Why do you have them participate? What's the value to them of participating on committees and working with standards or part of IEEE?
Well, I'll take the scenic route to the answer here.
Okay.
So I'm a engineer who was either blessed or cursed with a grammar teacher as a mother, depending on how you look at it. And I reflected on this. And throughout my career, it's really important to be able to communicate to people, right? And that's worked well for me. Thanks, Mom.
Shout out to Mom.
That's right. But one thing I find, people get caught up in language, in the lexicon. And I said, guys, stop making up the lexicon or picking it out here. We have a Bible here. We have someplace to go to where it doesn't change, and everybody will understand it. Okay, that's a simple example, but I've always gone back to IEEE.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's a great way.
IEEE is the anchor point.
I liked your journey.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, for us now we're working with, as you know, there's standards around interpreting insulating fluid data,
Right.
and those committees, they provide good work. They need guidance, and the committees provide a place for us to collaborate with the real who's who of transformers. I'm not taking who's who in a popular sense. I'm talking about the who's who, about who really understands transformers, right? Who's knowledgeable, who's experiencing challenges, who can share those, and we gather together as a community. And it doesn't matter if you're a utility or vendor or competing vendor. It's in that objective forum where people are sharing and genuinely trying to make everybody better.
No, that's excellent. That's value to the individual. Now, the value to IEEE, what is the value of having people at the practitioner level, because I consider you and your people practitioners, like the utility people are practitioners. What is the value to IEEE?
Of having us participate?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we're able to bring our knowledge to them. We're happy to share. Delta X Research, we invest in research, and we write papers, we present them at forums like this, and we share our experiences. And we bring our customers who have success stories to these types of avenues so that we can share that success and help everybody else. So I hope, IEEE as an organization is everybody here, so it creates that venue, again, to bring everybody up.
It's a win-win. John Brett, he is the CEO of Delta X Research. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Alan.
it.